It goes on, it says, if we deliberately keep on sinning after we have received the knowledge of the truth, no sacrifice for sins is left, but only a fearful expectation of judgment and raging fire that will consume the enemies of God. Anyone who rejected the law of Moses died without mercy at the testimony of 2 or 3 witnesses. How much more severely do you think a man deserves to be punished who has trampled the Son of God underfoot, who has treated as an unholy thing the blood of the covenant that sacrificed him, and who has insulted the Spirit of grace? Now, those are pretty strong words, but the message here is he's like, okay, one of the things that people are doing is they're not gathering together, they're not spurring one another on to love, they're not encouraging one another, and what that leads to is sin. It leads to separation. And if you're going to go on sinning and you're going to go on separating yourself from the body of Christ, and you're going to reject the body of Christ, reject the one that came and died for you, and you're going to trample underfoot the Son of God, you're going to say that his blood is not worthy, you're going to start to go against those things, how much more is the punishment you are going to receive as those that rejected the law of Moses. And this is a real word for those that believe in eternal security. You can get saved and you'll never have to worry about losing it or anything like that. It's like the writer of Hebrews here is saying, listen, once you start down that path, you need to finish the course. You need to finish the way. And one of the things that the enemy will do to get people to not finish the course is, first of all, separate them so they're not gathering together with other believers. And then as you pull them to the side, then you're able to weaken them, you're able to corrupt them. Isn't that the way that predators work? In herds and things like that, when they're attacking animals, what do? They go after them, and they go for the one that's weak. They go for the one that goes to the side. They separate one from the rest of the herd, and then they're able to take out that one that is separated. And that's the way the enemy works in the lives of believers. So one of the things that's important in gathering together, one of the things that's important in fellowshipping together, one of those things that's important with having other believers in our lives that can laugh with us when we laugh and cry with us when I cry, and that we laugh with when they laugh, and that we cry with when they cry. Someone else that we're encouraging, someone else that we're loving, someone else that we're praying for. One of the reasons that that's so important is because it takes away the ability of the enemy to separate us and to pull us out, so that then we end up walking down a path where we would end up rejecting Christ. And that's one of the reasons why it's so important. It's so much stronger. How many of you know individuals that stopped going to church and then kind of separated from other believers, and they ended up walking deeper and deeper in sin and gone down a path of rejection of God? Anybody know people like that? Anybody ever see people like that? Do you know any people that fellowship in church and stay in church, and they're praying for other believers and they're encouraging other believers, and they're going deep and deep into sin? Not really a lot of that, do you? Most of the time when people are fellowshipping and they're sharing with others and they're loving others and they're doing those things, they're not falling deeper into sin and going away from God and rejecting God. No, it's the ones that get separated. It's the ones that go aside. It's the ones that forget the importance of loving one another, encouraging one another, and helping others, provoking others to love and good deeds.